In today's video, we're going to talk about what happens once you have finally signed your contract of purchase and sale to buy a new home. Congratulations, you've got a new home. Now what? Once you've signed your contract, you might feel that that's it. You might feel that you're ready to go, you're done, but you're not. There's still a bunch of legal and financial things that you need to do in order to get yourself the owner of that home and moved into it properly. So we're going to talk about that today. First, if you're using financing for your new purchase, you want to make sure that you get your lender your information about your contract. So if you're using a bank, get a copy of it to your bank. If you're using a mortgage broker, get a copy of it to your mortgage broker. It's super important that they see a copy of your contract so that they can take a look at the property that you're buying and make sure that it qualifies for the kind of product that they have sold you. Just because you've been pre-approved for a mortgage doesn't mean that you're going to be finally approved for that mortgage until they actually see the contract and they can take a look at what you've decided to purchase. They may have further questions, they may ask for additional conditions, they may ask for other people to get involved once they see the contract, and it's important that you get that to them as soon as possible so they can take a look at that and deal with it right away. Next, you're going to make sure that you get your notary the contract. It's super important that we have about 2 weeks from the day we get the contract to the completion date in order to get all the things done that need to be done from the legal end of things. So for example, we get your file started, we identify you, we get your title searches going and your other searches that we need to do, we get those going, we make sure that we get the instructions from your lender about what kind of mortgage you're going to be getting, and then we have a bunch of paperwork signed and a bunch of negotiations happen with the seller's legal person. So it's very important that we have about 2 weeks to get all of that stuff done. Now, next part is movers. You want to make sure you're arranging your movers right away. It's super, super important that you get your movers organized as soon as you possibly can. And if you are doing the packing yourself, you want to make sure you've actually got the packing done. Clean everything up, declutter what you need to declutter, throw out what you need to throw out, get everything packed so that when your movers show up, they are ready to load and go. You do not want to be paying for movers to stand around watching you pack things. So get it organized, be ruthless about this, be efficient about it, get everything packed. If they are doing the packing for you, make sure you do your decluttering, make sure you do all of your throwing out, make sure you clean stuff and have it all efficiently organized and ready to go so that when they get there, they can get in, pack, load, and go. So get your movers on board. Now, if you have what we call a back-to-back deal happening, in other words, you are selling one property and then buying the next property on the same day, you want to make sure that you are asking some questions of your movers about what you can do with your stuff if your sale deal happens to go long, as we say. In other words, if your sale doesn't happen exactly the way we expect it to happen on your completion date, what happens to your stuff? Can they keep it on a truck? Can they put it into storage overnight, over a weekend? What happens to stuff if you cannot get into your new place on the day you expected? So just ask your movers about that. Don't panic about it. Just make sure that you know what your backup plan is if for some wild and crazy reason your sale file doesn't go quite the way you expected it to go. Next question is about insurance. So you want to make sure you've got your property insurance organized, and so that means you have to get your insurance in place and you have to pay for it. Ask all the questions or answer all the questions, make sure you've got all of the information that they need about the house and the types of things that are in it, roofs and furnaces and all that sort of stuff, and pay for the policy. If you have a strata, if you're buying a strata unit, then make sure that your strata insurance for your unit covers the building's deductibles. And what I mean by that is your strata building, your strata corporation is going to manage the insurance for the buildings as a whole, and you're going to have your own insurance for your own individual unit. But you want to make sure that if you cause a damage to the strata, for example, if you have a toilet that floods, if you have a washer that overflows or a dishwasher that overflows, you are the one that's going to have to pay for the building's deductibles. So if the strata has to use their insurance and you've caused the problem, they're going to look to you to pay the deductibles for the building. Those can be very, very expensive. They can be $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, depending on what kind of policies they've got, what the coverage is, and how many times they've had to use them in the past year or so. So check with your insurance company to make sure that your unit coverages or has coverage for the strata's deductibles. Okay. Then we want to make sure that you are around and available. So don't go anywhere. Don't disappear on us. We need you to be around and available to answer questions if something crops up, so that we can phone you or talk to you or see you in person to make sure everything is okay and to sign off on things that need to be signed off on. The next piece is making sure that you are who you say you are. We have to identify you. And in the old days, we used to have you just come in and show us a copy of your ID, and that was the end of it. But now fraud and money laundering have become such important parts of our work that we now need to take extra precautions. So the government, our governing body, the lenders, all want to make sure that you are not getting into some kind of fraudulent action. We want to make sure that you have properly been identified. What that means now is that we are going to use a third-party identification verification company. So you're going to get a link from us that says, please log on, please upload to their secure site copies of your ID, take a live selfie to show that you're alive and that you're a human, and they will then check to make sure that your ID is valid, that it's not expired, and that it's you, and that you are not involved in any red flag stuff, no fraudulent stuff happening in the background, no money laundering activities, no flags are going to go off for you as a human being. So then the next thing is try and keep everything as financially stable as you can. Don't quit your job, don't leave your spouse, don't max out your credit cards, don't buy a new car. This is all stuff that if the lender gets a hold of it, and if they find out that you've been doing wacky things with your money, they can refuse to fund your mortgage. So keep everything as financially stable as you possibly can while the transaction is happening. Now, next part is to sign all the legal paperwork and the money paperwork that you have. So you've signed a bunch of stuff with the bank, and now you need to sign some stuff with your notary, with us. So we're going to do a whole bunch of verification work with you using digital things now. So we're going to have a video conference with you in which we go through all the paperwork. We make sure we've got names right and property address right, that your citizenship and your residency are all correct, that all of this stuff, the financials are correct. We're going to go through all of that with you by way of a video conference, and then we're going to have you come in person to sign up a number of things, just a few things that still need to be signed in person. So we'll coordinate the closing, we'll make sure that the title gets registered in your name and the seller gets the money, and we'll report back to you that it's all done. Congratulations, and you can have your glass of champagne in your new home. Now, when the dust is settled, there's a few more things that you want to do after the completion date just to make your life a little bit easier. First bits are all about your mortgage. So you want to make sure that about 3 weeks after you've moved into your new place, that you phone up the lender and you say, I'd like to put some extra money down on my mortgage payments, please. So most mortgages will allow you to put down a little bit of money, 10, 15, 20% on your mortgage payments and make a lump sum payment. You want to do both of those things if you can. So first, with respect to the monthly payments, ask if you can put another $5 on each payment you're making. I know that sounds stupid, but because of the way compounding interest works, it makes a huge difference over the course of your mortgage. So $5 every payment, $10 if you can afford it, whatever you can afford. So $5 on every payment, phone the bank up about 3 weeks after you've settled in, get them to increase your monthly payments or your weekly payments or whatever you're doing by about $5 or $10, whatever you're going to be able to afford. Then if you get a tax refund, if you get a lottery ticket winning, if you get a gift from somebody, half of that goes into a lump sum payment against the principal of your mortgage. That will really help reduce the capital of your mortgage and the amount of interest that you're paying over time. So take advantage of those prepayment options that you've got. Now, that's nice to do it once, but you want to do it every year. So after the anniversary date of your mortgage, you want to make sure that you are diarizing a date in your calendar for about 2 or 3 weeks after your anniversary date. Do it again. Put another $5 down on your capital. Put another $5 down on every payment that you make. And the last piece with respect to your mortgage is that you want to make sure that you're diarizing a little date in your calendar for about 3 to 4 months before the mortgage's maturity date, so that you can start to look at that mortgage and decide for yourself, do I like this mortgage? Do I want to keep it going? Am I going to go to a different lender? Am I going to pay it off entirely? So do that about 3 or 4 months, before the mortgage is coming to maturity, because it's really important to remember that banks are not fast. They may take 3 months to review your situation and then say no. So now you've got to go find another bank. So start that process really early. Make sure you got everything in order and your ducks organized, and give yourself lots of time to do that. And the last piece, it's very boring. Get yourself a power of attorney. It sounds annoying, but get yourself a power of attorney, because if you do not have a power of attorney, then the law says that nobody can deal with your affairs, even your spouse, even your kids, even your parents. Nobody can deal with your land or your interest in your property without a power of attorney. We don't care that they're on the title with you. We don't care that you're family. We don't know who they are to you as outsiders. They could be anybody. And just because they're a spouse doesn't mean anything anymore. You could have picked them up in Vegas 2 weeks ago. We don't know that they're the right person to be selling your assets out from underneath you. So you have to make a power of attorney that says, if I get sick, but I'm still alive, who's going to deal with my house? Who's going to remortgage? Who's going to sell it? Who's going to pay for all the bills that have to be paid? A power of attorney is absolutely fundamental to your financial safety. So make sure you get a power of attorney sorted out. And that's it. So lots of things to do. We're here as your BC Notaries to help you with this work, and we look forward to working with you. Please get us your contract about 2 weeks before your completion date, and we'll get everything started for you. And we're always here to answer questions if you have them as we go along. We look forward to working with you. Thanks.